Hi, I'm Erin, and this is week 7 of Communications 101, chapters 16 through 19. In chapter 16, they talk about informative speech, and the different techniques for informing are definition. So you break something down into different parts that make up the topic that you're talking about. Or there's an explanation where you can provide an analysis of something and how it works to clarify for your audience. And then there's descriptive, so you use different descriptive words to explain what something is and give your audience a mental picture. There's also a demonstration, so you'll like literally walk them through how something works. There's also a narrative, so you can use a story to help inform your audience. Types of informative speeches. You can do an informative speech on an object. You can do it on an individual or a group. You can, like famous people, or an event. You can do it on a process, like the life cycle of a butterfly, or an idea. So when you're developing your speech, your informative speech, just like any other speech, you're going to analyze your audience. What do they need to know, and how can you explain it to them the best way possible? So make sure you focus on your goal of informing and don't cross into persuasive speech. Don't use the information to manipulate your audience to do something. You're just giving them the information. Make sure your information is clear and simple in a way that makes sense to them. Sometimes when we're passionate about something, we often use the big words and the jargon and forget that these people don't know much, if anything, about the topic, so we need to simplify it so that they can grasp it. And the best way to do this is move from general to specific. So you can take a general topic and then figure out what specific aspect of that topic you want to address. And make sure you kind of condense the information so it's not overwhelming. You can also use similar ideas to explain more complex ideas. And also you can use presentation aids. Reiterate your message, so say it in multiple ways, and also repeat it. So chapter 17 is persuasive speaking, so you go one step from informing into what do you want people to do with this information. Persuasive speeches attempt to influence your audience members, so you're either trying to strengthen their commitment to something that they're already committed to, or you want to weaken their commitment to something that you believe to be immoral or not a good thing to be invested in, or you can promote them to take action. So persuasive speeches advocate fact, value, or policy claims. So you want to, in a fact claim, you're going to show them why something is true or false. A value claim, you're going to convey your judgment of it, whether it's good, bad, or immoral. A policy claim, you're advocating for an organization or some kind of institution. And there's two paths to persuasion. Either people take the central route where they actually process the content of the message, or they might take the peripheral route, so they're only looking at kind of the outside superficial things like your presentation aids or how you're presenting or if they like you, things like that. So you want people obviously to take the central route. And here's how you can tailor your message so that they do. So you're going to adapt to the audience disposition on something. So if they're at a certain point, then you need to figure out how you can get them to where you want them. But you have to meet them where they're at. And one thing you can do is appeal to their needs. What is it going to cost them, and what does it benefit them? And connect to their values. If you want them to do something, how does that connect to their values? Why does it matter to them? Also acknowledge their reservations and their questions about the topic. Don't just skip over different arguments against what you're trying to say. You're going to want to address those things in your speech. So in a persuasive speech, you want to make sure you do it ethically. So you don't want to misuse information or take it out of context. You want to make sure your facts are well researched, and you also want to know any biases you might have. So if you sell for a company or you work for a company and you're trying to persuade on a topic that's associated with that, you might get compensation or something, then you want to make sure you're upfront and honest about that. Otherwise, they find out later and they're going to feel like you were hiding something. And make sure you attribute your research to who deserves the credit for it. So when you're organizing your speech, you can use a causal pattern, which we've talked about, how that works. And then comparison patterns. This policy is better than that policy because, and then give reasons, things like that. Categorical pattern, and so that's different ways you can organize your persuasive speech. Organizing value claims. Criteria application pattern, which is 2 main points. And then categorical, organizing your policy claims. Monroe's motivated sequence is one way that you can do that. He starts by getting the attention of your listeners and then addressing their needs. How does what you're saying satisfy those needs? Give them a visualization of what it looks like practically. And then how can they take action? Or there's a problem cause solution pattern. What's the problem? What's causing it? And how can we fix it? So that's chapter 17. Chapter 18 is methods of persuasion. One of the most important things is ethos, which is your credibility as a speaker. And so you can upfront tell people why you're someone that can give that information. What experience do you have? What training do you have? Are you trustworthy? Things like that. To avoid losing your credibility, you want to make sure you get your facts right, pronounce words correctly so that you sound intelligent and you know what you're talking about. And like I said before, stating any biases that you need to be upfront about, and any conflicts of interest. Another thing you don't want to do is overdo making connections with the audience and taking things farther than you need to so that it looks fake or dishonest. Logos is the evidence and reasoning behind your message. So you're going to use credible evidence that is new and up to date. And then make sure you identify your sources and show why they're credible sources. And look for evidence that is compelling for your audience. Also, you're going to use reasoning. So why does this make sense? Why does this work? How does this work? How do these things work together to be true? How do we know that they actually function? And there's different modes of using that. There's comparison reasoning, this is similar to this, sign reasoning, all these signs add up, causal reasoning, and then you want to avoid logical fallacies, so make sure you don't use information out of context or stretch it or overgeneralize. Don't attack other views to make yours look better, or misinterpret somebody's point to knock it down so that people will accept your points. That's called the straw person fallacy. But there's a lot of different fallacies, and you just want to make sure that you're using sound reasoning. Finally, the final method for persuasion is pathos, which is evoking your listeners' emotions. So you can appeal to people's emotions appropriately. Maybe it's, for example, one use of pathos is on those commercials where they're trying to get sponsors for like kids in third world countries, and they show you a picture of a starving kid before he gets a sponsor, and then what he looks like after he has a sponsor. It's things like that. They connect with us emotionally and persuade us to take action. But you want to use this ethically and make sure you're not over exaggerating or manipulating people's emotions. So that's methods of persuasion. Chapter 19 talks about special occasion speaking. So that's like maybe a eulogy at a funeral, or it might be a celebration or accepting an award or something like that. So during these kinds of speeches, you'll appeal to your audience emotions. What's going on? Is it a somber occasion? Are they celebratory? Are they honoring someone? How can you appeal to the emotions that people are feeling in this occasion? Match your delivery to your mood and adapt to your audience's expectations. And make sure you respect the time restraints. Don't go way over or anything like that. And there's different guidelines for different situations. So if you're giving an introduction, make sure that you're not trying to take the show. You're building up people's excitement for what's coming next. Or you might be presenting an award and you're going to give credentials. Why is this person accepting this award? Why is it such a great reward to be receiving? Things like that. And use appropriate presentation aids, which might be like a slideshow or of someone's accomplishments or something like that. When you're accepting an award, make sure you're being humble and you're showing your appreciation. If you're giving a eulogy, you're celebrating that person's life, so make sure you don't lose track of that. Don't overuse humor or use it inappropriately. There is a place for that, but remember that people are also mourning, so just be appropriate in the way you use humor. And also don't be afraid to show your emotions. For celebratory speech, you can use humor, but you're also wanting to remind people of why you're celebrating in the speech, so don't lose focus of that. And then after dinner speeches, like toasts and things, like at a wedding or something like that, you can use humorous anecdotes and narrative stories and things like that, but don't just fill up your time with jokes. And then if you have an opportunity, practice beforehand. But always link your speech to the occasion's theme. So that's chapter 19, and that's a summary of chapters 16 through 19. And thank you for having me be a part of this class. It's been a great opportunity, and I've really enjoyed learning about communicating better. So thank you.